Welcome to the Freedom Club Podcast, where we strive to pull you out of your life of quiet desperation, out of your comfort zone of misery, and propel you into a life of freedom and fulfillment. And now, here's your host for this journey, international speaker and coach, and serial entrepreneur, Kurt Mercadante.
This is the Freedom Club Podcast, and I am your host, Kurt Mercadante, and I hope you are having one hell of a day. Because I tell you what, there's shitty things that we all have to do in our day. And no matter what challenges you have facing you today, no matter if you have 3 god-awful conference calls, you have lunch with that asshole who you hate, right? It's so easy to wake up in the morning and focus on those shitty things in our day. Instead, I want you to take a paper. I want you to take a pen right now, and I want you to write down 3 things you are grateful for. I want you to think, what the hell is awesome about today, and what is going to make today even more awesome? That's how you start your day from now on, because I'll tell you, each of us have shitty things in our day. We all have challenges. Are you going to let those challenges ruin your day and ruin your life? Because life is too short. You and I could go outside right now and get hit by a goddamn bus. We don't know that. So don't let the small shit in your day ruin your day and prevent you from being present with your family, with your friends, with yourself. But that's not even the topic of today's podcast. I just get worked up on these things. Today, I want to talk about something that I talk about in more detail with our guest this Wednesday, Carrie McDonald. She's the author of a book called Unschooled, and we talk about the future of education in America. And I don't even talk about schooling, I talk about education, because there is a fundamental difference between education and schooling. And in my own humble opinion, and the opinion of a growing number of people in this country, our current system of forced schooling, of coerced conformity schooling, is not delivering the education our humans need for the economy of the future, for a life of freedom and fulfillment, to meet the future threats to human existence. So Carrie and I speak about that a lot on Wednesday. But one of the things she writes about in her book, and we talk about in Wednesday's podcast, is the phrase intrinsic motivation. There's 2 types of motivation. There's intrinsic motivation and there's extrinsic motivation. And in our society, in the current system of schooling, but also in many workplaces, in many industries, hell, entrepreneurs do it to themselves. They build so much extrinsic motivation into their life. Well, my parents, my teachers say I got to get straight A's. I have to be an expert in all these subjects, and I got to do. That's extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is allowing us to use our superpowers, to flourish, to be the best we that we can be. We don't all need to be math whizzes. We don't all need to be poets. We don't all need to be incredible writers. All of us have our individual superpowers, and intrinsic motivation is about finding that and then finding what we're passionate about, matching that up and pursuing that. Billionaire investor Peter Thiel is one of the initial investors in Facebook. He tells a story about since he was at a young age, he was told, get into the best school, the best high school, graduate at the top of the class. Then you got to go to Stanford Law School. You got to graduate at the top of your class so you can get a job at a Manhattan law firm, because that's the key to a successful life. He said he did all that. It was all extrinsic motivation, what his parents were telling him, what his teachers were telling him. He lived that life based on that extrinsic motivation. And he said almost as soon as he got into that law firm, he couldn't wait to get the hell out. He went on, he's gone on. You may like Peter Thiel, you may hate Peter Thiel, but he's doing what he likes. He's doing what he loves. He's doing what he thinks makes an impact on the world. And he's really good at doing it. That's intrinsic motivation. When we are intrinsically motivated, my friends, there's nothing more powerful. No extrinsic motivation in the world can deal with that. I often marvel when I watch the Olympics. You have some of these countries that are much larger than the United States. And you had, especially when we had the old Soviet Union, right? You had, and now we see it with China, we see it to some level with Russia. You have these athletes that were conditioned from a young age, almost being drawn into the military. You're going to be a swimmer. You're going to be a sprinter. You're going to be a weightlifter. We know some of the other things, the drugs, the illegal drugs that went into that. And I was always surprised how the United States was able to compete with them on that level. Because why? Usually, for the most part, I know there are some exceptions here, especially in this era of coerced conformity when parents tell kids you have to play football. You got to be the quarterback of the team. But for the most part here in the United States, we get to choose the sports that we're passionate about. We get to choose the sports in which we want to participate. And with that freedom, we have pretty damn good athletes that were able to compete with kind of the militarized sports industries of Eastern Germany, right? East Germany, the Soviet Union, whatever. And it was because our athletes, I believe, were intrinsically motivated rather than picked from a young age and told you have to win a gold medal or you will be punished. Now, some people are listening to this. They may get angry for me talking about this. I don't give a shit. Because the fact of the matter is, right now in our society, too many people raise their children, coach people, build their workplaces solely on extrinsic motivation. As you know, I like to talk a lot about individual superpowers. The very notion of being able to work in your superpower zone is about intrinsic motivation, finding your God-given talent, investing in it, combining it with your knowledge, your skill, your passion, your education, what you know, what you love. That's when we are at our best. That is how we find true motivation. And a lot of people want to know about willpower and discipline. And I talked this on about this on a recent episode of this podcast. I don't believe in willpower and discipline because when you are in your superpower zone, when you are doing what you love, it becomes so much easier to do it than to not do it. So you don't need that discipline. You don't need that willpower to get it done. So we need more intrinsic motivation in our society, in our system of education, in our workplaces. You need more intrinsic motivation in your life because I've said it before and I'll say it again. You are an autonomous human being. You can design the lifestyle you want. And when you start heading in that direction, you will be motivated not based on what other people want you to do and how other people want you to live your life, but based on what is inside of you, based on what you love, where you want to go. And that, my friends, is when you are on fire. That's when you are an undefeatable superhero.